His name was Ryan Phillips, Shen said, waving the digital files over to Tanesha's virtual display above her desk. He went by Jens on Rackham Social, and had deep ties to the dark web. Dealt in everything from illegal organs, drugs, memory splicing kits, mem splices, to guns and plasma weaponry. Good thing he's dead, Frakes said. Sounds like he was a real sicko. Shen shrugged. Sickos are relative in this town. Frakes grinned, pointing to his mechanical eye. Speaking from experience? Shen avoided her gaze. We should run his contacts down, see if they know anything about his activities, why he might have been involved with Akagi. Tricks and tricksters, she said. You seen his friends list on Rackham Social? It's massive. It'll take weeks to track them all down, and that's if they're local. No one under 25 hangs around in meat space, especially not this guy. Fine. The techs say he was a VR junkie from their initial scans. So find out who he gamed with. Bring them in if necessary. Right. She leaned back in her chair. Speaking of evidence techs, did they retrieve anything useful from all that black market tech in our friend's shipping container? Shen stood up, holstering his sidearm. Not yet. Phillips was careful. All his data was encrypted. You don't think he was a cyber terrorist, do you? I don't know for sure yet, but I'd bet my good eye he was. Shen started for the door. Where are you going, Kai? He wasn't sure he liked the look she was giving him. Coffee. Want one? Frakes nodded. I could come with. We could grab breakfast from one of the kiosks. Have an old-timey picnic in one of the satellite parks. Take your mind off all this doom and gloom. No thanks. I need to think. Don't wander too far and don't think too hard. He stepped into the elevator and shut Frakes up by letting the doors close. Don't think too hard, Shen whispered, his fists clenching. Now Shen was certain Detective Frakes had been assigned to keep tabs on him. Maybe the chief felt his last partner wouldn't have fried his brain on mem splices if he'd kept a closer eye on him. The truth was more complicated than that. It always was. Shen watched the skycar traffic below the precinct building, like ants marching to the beat of their queen's desires. He took a sip of his coffee. 2 dead. A potential killer on the loose who, in all likelihood, was targeting people associated with the development of Battle for Drogon. Shen brought up Dennis Rackham's Rackham Social file. The studio's name was Cyber Oni 1 Productions, a variation of the name that Dennis himself used both in the real world and in VR. If there really was a connection to the staff of Battle for Drogon, then the killer would likely be taking another shot at Dennis's team. He'd need to pay the man a visit. Tanesha wouldn't agree. She'd try to talk him out of it, tell him that this wasn't what police did, that their contract is to serve Rackham Media Amalgamated interests and nothing more. Dennis Rackham had a reputation for blacklisting people he didn't like. He was the sole heir of one of the most powerful men in the world, so Shen would have to be careful. Shen felt for his sidearm. He had a feeling that the spoiled bastard would react to a possible threat on his life. Maybe enough to cooperate. Notification pings went off in his head. DeMarco was calling. The lawyer could handle it. He ignored the call. He summoned his skycar remotely, had it meet him on the rooftop, and took off toward the club district. Cyber Oni 1's office was across the street from Love Hotel, a place where a lot of people went to fulfill their most hedonistic desires. The place was a blackout area as far as Rackham Media's TOS was concerned. Some acts that would normally land a person a one-way ticket to the Mind Wrecker could be experienced within the walls of Love Hotel without consequence. Akagi had been a frequent visitor before his body ended up at the burnout in the slums. Given the hotel's rep, it was unlikely that Akagi was staying at Love Hotel to be close to work. Shen guided the skycar into Love Hotel's parking structure. There weren't many skycars here at this hour. They were busiest from sundown to sunup for obvious reasons. Still, the crawlers here would be able to register his cruiser's badge transponder, not that he intended to hide. The cruiser's landing struts came out, and he docked the cruiser somewhere in the middle of the structure. He didn't want to get out just yet. Something was still bothering him. The fact that Akagi had run to the burnout told Shen that he'd had some suspicion that his life had been in danger. Still, Akagi had been sodomized, either by the killer or by a lover that later left the scene before the murderer showed up on site. The The front desk at the burnout kept zero records on the people who came in and out of their guests' rooms to protect them from any retaliation that might come from official RMPD investigations. They were purposefully low-tech, too, so there were no surveillance cameras or drones on site. And crawlers were less frequent in the slums anyway. Useless. But maybe someone at Cyber Oni 1 would be able to tell him who Akagi's friends were, and those friends might be able to lead him to this mystery lover, or rule them out. Shen got out of his cruiser, took the elevator to ground level, and strolled across the street. There wasn't much skycar traffic at this hour. The sky almost looked clear. The Cyber Oni 1 building wasn't a megastructure. It only featured 20 floors. It still towered over Love Hotel and some of the older buildings here, but by Rackham Media's standards, it was tiny. Shen passed through the disinfectant gate at the front doors. Warning signs came up on its HUD and on the gate's access panels, warning authorized personnel to close their eyes and hold their breath while passing through the gate. The gate had several functions and would automatically adjust to a person's allergy data present on their identification chip, implant, or phone. The gates were a necessary precaution left over from the last viral pandemic. Shen was sprayed with a light aerosol that quickly evaporated off his coat as he approached the front desk. The front desk AI wouldn't give him any answers. Confidentiality and privacy policy in an age where warrants were only good for enemies of the corporation state. From his experience, most threats came from within. The front desk was managed by the same type of AI that ran Love Hotel. Of course it did. He used his credentials to bypass it, slip on through. There was something eerie about the office corridor. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. Maybe it was the hum of the environmental systems, the way the walls displayed alien vistas and dungeons filled with things that the company wanted you to think were monsters. Shen knew better. The real monsters paid him a meager living that worked him impossible hours, barely covered his rent for an apartment that was also owned by Rackham Media, just like his job. Shen found Dennis Rackham's door. A woman wearing her business best blocked his entry, holding her hand up. "I'm sorry, Detective," the woman said, a fake smile that was corporate engineering made reality etched on her face. "I'm afraid that Cyberoni is not able to answer any questions regarding the alleged murder of Raymond Akagi. We're hard at work rolling out content updates that will really synergize and move the needle in terms of Battle for Drogon's exposure, meaning more access points for full immersion experiences that will..." "Not interested in a progress update for your studio." Shen accessed the building's PA system, tapped into Dennis's personal terminal. If his corporate watchdog wouldn't let him in, maybe the man himself would change his mind after he heard what was at stake. "We have reason to believe that whoever killed Akagi may want to get to Dennis Rackham next. Cyberoni has a full security detail, which I slip by. Anyone who can spoof an RMPD badge signature will be able to slip right past that brain-dead AI and those meatheads you employ." The door behind the woman opened, revealing a man with plastic skin and fake jet-black hair. His eyes looked tired, the kind of fatigue that all the designer drugs and cybernetic upgrades can't cure, and he was wearing a Cyber Oni 1 Productions t-shirt. "Wait," Dennis Rackham said. "I'll listen." Shen pushed past the corporate puppet and descended into Dennis's office. It smelled like a mixture of coffee, cannabis, and semen. He shuddered to think what the room would look like under a blacklight and made a point not to touch anything. "Do you have an idea who the killer might have been?" Dennis said, taking a seat at his desk. He clapped his hands, closing all of the holo displays he had open. "That's why I'm here," Shen said, taking position in front of the desk, where his scanners might be able to find some leverage. "I need to know if Akagi had any enemies. We followed an address ping that registered on his personal VR implant. The address led us to a shipping container with false identification plates. Lots of illegal tech inside, and a corpse that belonged to one Ryan Phillips, aka Jens, a known mem-splice dealer who also dabbled in illegal weapons trafficking. Dennis Rackham has no affiliation with anyone by that name, nor has he ever participated in any TOS-violating activity of any kind," the corporate puppet said, fake smile persisting. The scans came back. Mr. Oni had a whole deck of pornographic mem-splices. As they said in old-timey crime flicks, bingo. "The smell of sex and drugs says otherwise," Shen said. Cannabis isn't against TOS, but I wonder what your father would think of the mem splices you've been using to get off. Are you threatening a Rackham Media asset? Her smile faded. We've pulled your badge code, Detective Shen. How's the divorce going? Swell. Stay on topic, Shen said. I'm not threatening you. I want to help. I want to catch this asshole before they strike again. Like you caught your partner doing mem splices. How successful was your intervention? Oh, that's right. There wasn't one. How would you like it if I forwarded a note to HR? Maybe I'll skip right ahead and send it marked urgent to your chief. The smile returned. I think your department is due for some right-sizing, don't you think? Shen eyed Dennis. If you die, you know who to blame. Do yourself a favor and kill the AI. Hire some real guards with actual military training. Call in a favor if you have to. We'll keep it under advisement, the puppet said. Have a nice day. Before he could get out the front door, pings were going off like doomsday alarms. It was Frakes. Go, Shen said. Wherever the hell you've run off to, you need to get down to the business district. Right the fuck now. Got a bloody fucking mess and the chief wants all hands on deck to make sure the fucking media doesn't shove their noses where they don't belong. Rackham owns the media. It's in the name. Just get the fuck down here. Tanesha sent him some coordinates. He took the elevator up to his sky car and lifted off. He had a bad feeling about this.